Hi, I'm Ben Ferguson, and welcome to your AMAC Weekly News. First up, for years, the left has treated the idea that tech giants were stifling conservative voices as a conspiracy theory. Well, guess what? Now we have legitimate proof of the fact that tech giants are not only stifling conservative voices, but they're actually working together to wipe conservatives off the digital map whenever they don't like them. More on this massive story coming out of D.C. in just a moment. Up next, the presidential election is far from over as the Trump legal team continues to challenge the legitimacy of the 2020 election results in many states. The primary target is Dominion voting systems, and I'll tell you what we know about them, and it's really important in just a second. And finally, AMAC Social Security Advisor Jerry Hayford is here to discuss AMAC's Social Security Advisory Services. It's extremely important for anyone dealing with the issue of taking Social Security. But first, a quick reminder. Make sure you share this video with your family and friends on social media. Hit that share button right now. It will make a huge impact of making sure more people get to see this broadcast. Your AMAC Weekly News starts right now. We've been talking and warning you about the tech tyrants in this nation and how they've been doing everything they can to silence conservatives. I'll be honest with you, we had no clue just how orchestrated their effort is. Honestly, the words stalk and destroy, in reference to conservatives, do not even begin to describe the actions of tech giants towards any conservative voice that dares to speak out on their platforms. For years, conservatives have attempted to call these giants out for their blatant attempts to silence anyone who disagrees with their liberal agenda. They try to claim that they're 100% unbiased and only out to make American voices heard. But now we have the proof that this has gone way too far, and their goal is clear: to silence anyone that is a conservative. In fact, this week, in a heated Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on big tech censorship, the truth was revealed in a completely unexpected way. One of the shocking moments, one of the greatest moments, I would also say, for transparency in this country, was a revelation involving a tool called Tasks, which was allegedly intended to improve the workflow of Facebook employees. However, we now know that this tool is also used by Facebook employees to collaborate with Google and Twitter in censoring users across all of their platforms. Watch what happened when Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg was confronted with this information by Senator Josh Hawley. He received this from a whistleblower who told them and gave them proof that these companies are working together to silence anyone they don't like.
Centra is a tool that Facebook uses to track its users not just on Facebook, but across the entire internet. Centra tracks different profiles that a user visits, their message recipients, their linked accounts, the pages they visit around the web. Mr. Zuckerberg, how many accounts in the United States have been subject to review and shut down through Centra?
Senator, I do not know because I'm not actually familiar with the name of that tool. I'm sure that we have tools that help us with our platform and community integrity work, but I am not familiar with that name.
Do you have a tool that does exactly what I've described and that you can see here over my shoulder? Or are you saying that that doesn't exist?
Senator, I'm saying that I'm not familiar with it.
Now, again, Zuckerberg is the CEO of Facebook. He knows, or should know, about all of these major programs used within his own company to silence people. Notice, by the way, he was really smart. He never said the program didn't exist. Instead, he avoided answering by claiming he was unfamiliar with a term used by Senator Hawley. Many of you might say that you knew social media tracked your movements, but this goes above and beyond simple tracking. What this program does, as the senator described it, is allow for Facebook, Twitter, and Google to share with one another when a particular individual on their platform is speaking out in a way they dislike. At this point, they can all work together to make that individual on social media disappear. Senator Hawley appeared on Tucker Carlson's show on Fox News, following the hearing to express his concerns about the legitimacy and the legality of these actions by big tech.
These are the most powerful corporations in history, and here they are coordinating about how they're going to stop us from speaking, coordinating about who they're going to ban, coordinating about what phrases will be allowed to trend and what not. And we basically caught them red-handed. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg admitted to me under oath that, yeah, actually, Facebook censorship teams do talk to Google and Twitter. And he hastened to add, but, we make our own decisions. But he admitted that, yeah, actually, they are in coordination. And the whistleblower revealed to me that, in fact, they coordinate very, very closely. I think this warrants antitrust scrutiny. And tell you what, Tucker, it warrants further action by Congress. Congress is going to have to get off its backside and do something here, or these corporations are going to run America.
So the question now is, what does this actually mean for you and I? It means that these companies can track our presence on any and all of their sites, and ensure that you are denied all ability to share in the freedom of speech our founders provided in the U.S. Constitution because they're offended by it or they just want to silence you. Here's what I do know. We have to hold these overpowered organizations accountable for their clear actions to shut all of us up. What I also know is what they're doing right now is not allowed and should not be allowed in this country. We're supposed to be the freest country in the world. Now, let me say something very clear. What we should be doing right now is not talking to Democrats about this, but demanding that Republicans actually do more than just question these tech giants. They've known this is going on. We now have even more proof of what they're actually doing. My question is to the Republicans in Congress, what are you doing? When are you going to do your job? When are you going to protect all of our freedom of speech? When are you going to stop protecting these big tech tyrants who are silencing us one by one? Sometimes it's okay to be angry with conservatives who are in power for not doing their jobs. And right now, this is the time when we should all be very angry with conservatives that are continuing to allow this to happen in Washington, D.C. So if you want to get in trouble with big tech, just use the word Dominion and combine it with voting systems. It's a software company that had some real problems in the election. Now, this software company had already had red flags brought up against them. It was actually rejected by Texas when the Attorney General, Ken Paxton, said that it was, not going to use this software or this company because of their vulnerability to fraud and manipulation. The only problem is it was used in many other states, more than 24 states, actually, and in a lot of counties across the nation where there are very tight recounts going on as we speak. Now, this same system was actually responsible for a glitch in Michigan in one county that caused 6,000 votes meant for Donald Trump and Republicans to go for Biden and the Democrats. Don't worry, they said it was a human error. Well, thankfully, that particular glitch was actually caught. But the question remains as to how many glitches have been missed around the country. Now, just in the state of Michigan, there are 48 other counties that use the same exact software that switch votes, 6,000 of them in one county. That is 48 of the 83 counties in the state of Michigan that use this exact same software in the exact same way. My question is this. That was only 6,000 ballots. But imagine if all 282,000 of the ballots in those 47 other counties were actually checked. What would you find? Now, that's well above Biden's margin of victory in the state. Michigan isn't the only state that used Dominion voting systems. Georgia also implemented the Dominion voting system, which produced a technical glitch that halted voting in 2 different counties on the morning of the election. This is the first year that Georgia used Dominion voting systems, and its new statewide voting system, which you're supposed to be proud of, had a lot of problems. Right now, it looks like only Trump supporters are complaining about the glitches and the obviously inaccurate voting system and the problems it's having in 2 different states. However, just last year, Democrat leaders knew there was an issue, including Senator Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, and Ron Wyden, who all wrote a letter together expressing their concerns about the election technology industry's vulnerabilities and lack of transparency. Now, this actually happened less than a year ago. The letter was sent out on December the 6th, 2019. These Democrat leaders sent their letter to 3 election technology companies that now facilitate, they have a monopoly on 90% of how our votes are counted in the U.S. These were HIG Capital, investing in Hart, InterCivic, McCarthy Group, investing in election systems and software, and Staple Street Capital, investing in Dominion voting systems. Now, important to note that today, election systems and software and Dominion voting systems facilitate more than 3/4 of voters, while Hart InterCivic was quietly sold by its owner in April of this year. Now, just a little side question here that I think we should all be asking is, why did one of these 3 companies sell during an election year? I'll let you figure out the answer to that. Let's get back to Dominion for a moment. They are just saying they're just glitches. Everything's fine. No one should even be asking any questions. And what's scary is many states that are using Dominion did not ask any questions at all about what's going on with their glitches. Now, Dominion does admit that this actually happened. Yeah, they are admitting it. And in fact, they released a statement. And here's what they had to say. Quote, Dominion voting systems categorically denies false assertions about vote switching and software issues with our voting systems. Dominion is a central figure, by the way, in the lawsuits that have been put forth by the Trump legal team following the disastrous election and the problems they had in Michigan. One such member of the team, Sidney Powell, had this to say about what the team has discovered regarding Dominion. Take a look.
We are collecting evidence now from various whistleblowers that are aware of substantial sums of money being given to family members of state officials who bought this software. I mean, we're talking about $100 million packages for new voting machines suddenly in multiple states, and benefits ranging from financial benefits for family members to sort of what I would call election insurance. Because they know that they can win the election if they are using that software. It's really an insidious, corrupt system, and I can't tell you how livid I am with our government for not paying attention to complaints even brought by Democrats, Carolyn Maloney, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, over the last several years in written letters with expert reports and some documentation of how corrupt this software is, and nobody in our government has paid any attention to it.
Now, this isn't a new issue. This is something that's been in the works for years. The question now is why the Democrats no longer care about the vulnerabilities that they wrote about less than a year ago. I'll tell you why. It's because the system worked in their favor this time. If this is the case, then we should all be extremely worried about elections anywhere in the country using Dominion systems. We should be extremely worried that this can continue to happen, election after election, on the local, state, and the national level. Yes, the media is not covering this the way they should, but we at AMAC will keep asking questions and do everything we can to make sure that all legal votes are counted in every election, no matter who's running it. Social Security is such an important subject for so many people in this country, and we are honored to have AMAC Social Security Advisor Jerry Hayford here with us. Welcome, Jerry. It's really nice to have you. And Social Security is such a hot topic in our country. We're now trying to see how the Democrats are going to treat Social Security moving forward, and things could change. Let me be clear. AMAC's mission is to help American seniors understand really the Social Security system, how it works for them. So let's talk about that real quick. This is some of the things that we're focusing on now at AMAC, is helping provide seniors with the assistance they may need that they're probably not going to get from the government on what is best for them and specifically their benefits.
That's exactly right, Ben. And we started our Social Security Advisory Service about 5 years ago now. Beginning of 2016, we started it. It started out slow, but it's been growing primarily through word of mouth, people being aware of the service. And actually, as of right now, we're averaging 400 to 500 inquiries every month. People calling that are aging into Social Security and just don't know what to do. The system is just absolutely complex if you've never really looked at it in detail. So that's our mission. Our mission is to help people know what they need to know in order to make the decisions, because the decisions actually are, in most cases, irrevocable, and are going to be with them for the rest of their lives. So we're very careful about giving them the correct information that they need. We have 5 accredited advisors on staff. We're adding a 6th this month. We've been growing so rapidly that we're adding a 6th. And just as an example, earlier this year, we hit a milestone. We fulfilled our 10,000th request for assistance. And that was around May or June of this year. And I'm projecting by the end of the year, we're going to be about 14,000. So that's an indicator of how rapidly it's growing.
It goes back to one of the things about the growth here, and the reason why we want to take a moment to talk about this with our members is the fact that there are so many different people out there that, say, and I jokingly say this, but really not a joke, don't trust the government. What you talked about there are these concerns that, hey, you can't undo some of the decisions that you make.
Right.
We've seen this with my own family members where one person took Social Security much earlier than the other person. They found out that affected the second person's Social Security benefit. When you are getting to the age where you can decide how to choose what you're going to do or when you should start taking Social Security, this is a very complicated issue. Unfortunately, the government's made it complicated when you are married, and that's one of the things that you guys walk them through is, hey, just because one person's retiring doesn't necessarily mean you need to start taking that benefit yet. Everybody's financial situation and equation is different. You can't, just because your neighbor or your cousin or your best friend did something does not mean it's necessarily the right thing for you.
That's absolutely right, Ben. It's important that you personalize the rules to your individual situation. And when you go to the Social Security office, no reflection on them. They have staffing issues and all that. But they basically will just tell you what the rule is, and they won't really personalize it to your situation. And so we spend a lot of time talking to people about the ramifications of the decision, the implications for spousal benefits and survival benefits, which is important for people to understand.
Well, and let's talk about taking Social Security too early. That's one of the things where when you take it early, you are at risk of losing a significant amount of benefits financially. I know with my own family, I got involved, and it was so important because I was like, no. We don't want to take this right away because you guys are both in good health. We probably need to wait a little bit longer before you take this benefit because it's significant in the increase in the benefit every year that you delay taking these Social Security benefits. Now, thank goodness it was the right decision for our family. Doesn't mean necessarily for everybody that that's going to be the way to go.
Right. Well, it depends. And that's one of the top 3 questions we get. When should I retire? And if I retire at 62 and take my benefits at 62, what does that mean to me long term? And we talk to people about, you have to understand your personal situation. What's your life expectancy? What are your spousal benefit arrangements, that sort of thing. And we typically will do for people a break-even scenario where we'll tell them, okay, if you retire at 62, you're going to take a 30% reduction in your benefit. And over time, by the time you're age 76, roughly, is about when you would break even. So if you plan to live beyond age 76, then filing at 62 is not a good decision. So these are the kind of analyses that we do for people.
Jerry, I want to talk to you about one of the big fears that is out there. I've heard a lot of people say, well, I'm going to get my Social Security as soon as I can at 62 because Social Security is not going to be around much longer. I've been paying into it. Might as well get something out of it. I'm personally not worried about that fear. I think this is the third rail in politics. You don't ever touch Social Security really in a negative way, and I think most politicians know that. But for people that are concerned about that, what do you see moving forward?
Okay, that is one of the myths that we deal with quite frequently. We get a lot of people that call and say, Social Security is going broke. I want to file now. And so, first of all, we explain to them the reduction in benefit that they'll incur if they file early. But secondly, we take pains to assure them that Social Security is not going broke. There is no way Social Security can become bankrupt. Projections are that the trust funds that are helping to pay the benefits now will run out of money in 2035 is the official projection. But something will happen between now and then policy-wise to correct the system. We are confident about that. But even if the trust funds are bankrupt in 2035, Social Security will still be there because it's funded by payroll taxes. As long as there's a payroll, people working, paying payroll tax into the system, it will continue to pay benefits. So we are optimistic that the incoming Congress will finally get a handle on correcting Social Security. We've been very active in that area.
They always kick the can down the road, but I agree with you. It's going to be around for a long time.
Right.
Jerry, if people want to reach out to you and your team to ask specific questions about their individual situation, how do they get in touch?
Simply go to our foundation website, amacfoundation.org. On the services page, you will see the telephone number to contact us. It's a toll-free number, 888-750-2622. Or you can send us an email at ssadvisor@amacfoundation.org. That's all spelled out on the services page.
Jerry, I appreciate your time and coming on AMAC Weekly News. And again, people can find this information on the website. It's so important. And thanks for what you and your team are doing.
Thank you.
That's it for this edition of your AMAC Weekly News. Make sure that you share this broadcast with your family and friends, especially family and friends that may be having to deal with this issue of Social Security right now. This is just one of those incredible AMAC member benefits that is so important for so many members. So take advantage and utilize this benefit from AMAC. I'm Ben Ferguson, and I'll see you back next week for our next episode.